Okay guys, I'm here with a 2014 F250 and my seat. One day I was at a fast food restaurant and I put the seat back to eat, and when I went to put it back up, it wouldn't go back up. So now I've been riding around gangster style with the seat the whole way back. I do have it, as you see it now, up in the back, which kind of tilts it a little bit forward. Anyway, so I troubleshot this thing, and I thought maybe it was this switch, this 6-way switch. As you can see that when you push it down in the front goes down, or the front goes up, and then the same with the back. The back has a motor as well. So there's 3 motors underneath this thing. I replaced that switch and that didn't help. That was the quick fix. And so I got underneath it after I replaced the switch and I disconnected the wires. I'm going to try to put this up in there and see if you can see. It's very difficult. I'm in the front here. There's a motor here, which is closest to the door. And there's one over here. And then the one that I'm having problems with is this one the whole way in the back, and it has a bar that goes across it. And that's what the new one looks like right there. So I made up some jumper wires, pulled off the switch, and back there I was able to hook those jumper wires on, and I hooked up an 18 volt battery and just touched it to see if I could get it to move, and I couldn't. So I know the motor's bad. I also did a voltmeter check, voltage check, DC voltage check on the wires coming out, and they are getting power. So we know it's the motor. I got to get this seat out. So anyway, there's plastic caps that you take off, and they just pop off. So that's what those look like. Got a couple tabs. They pop off there, 2 places in the front and 2 in the back. They're a little tricky to get off. You just got to get a little screwdriver in there and snap them off. Anyway, I'm going to take this off, and then when I get it apart, you have to take the seat out to put the motor on. When I get this done, I'll make another video and I'll splice it in so you guys can see how I did that. Okay guys, back with the seat. I removed the 4 bolts that I'd showed you. Those are 13/16 require a 13/16 socket. Take those 4 bolts out, and then you can tilt the seat back like I did in this. I'm guessing you can see that. I'm in a sunny environment right now. Anyway, I misspoke when I said I took the switch off to test the motors. What I meant was I took the connector off, and you can see that connector right there. That's the one back here that I removed, and that just slides off. It slides off horizontally with the motor. So those pop off, and there's 2 prongs sticking up, and you can put your test leads on it. You can also, as I said, you can use a voltmeter and test the voltage in the actual wire, and press the switch and see whether you're getting voltage there. Anyway, I got this up. I just wanted to show you this connector that I'm about to remove. This thing, there is see if I can get my finger. This part right here, this black piece, you push that down, there's a little catch here on this gray, and if you push this down, that will go over top of it, and then you can flip this down. So I can't do it while I'm filming, but I just wanted to show you that. This actually goes down quite a bit, and then you can separate those 2 pieces. Okay. Okay guys, I got the seat out, and now what we have to do is take this bracket out with this motor, and there's the spare, and you can see you've got four bolts that hold it, and then some electrical connections here. Your actual motor, the connection is up here. That just slides off, and then some of these have the plastic pins pushed in to keep these the wire looms and stuff in place, so we'll have to take them off. I have to see exactly how we can get to them, but that's the next step. So I just want to show you what that looks like. This is the front of the seat up top, and that's the back. So these other 2 motors that I was talking about, there's the one. This would have been toward the console. And then there's one over here, and that one is toward the control side, the door side, where you have your switches. So, okay guys, so to get to these two bolts that hold this bar, it's very difficult. So what I did is I took, here at the front, there is a, you can see there's the threaded portion, and then this whole thing pivots up. As you can see, that whole thing goes up. And there's two bolts that hold that. Okay, one on this side, one here, and then if you come across, one there. And you have to bend this plastic back a little bit, that vinyl piece. But what those bolts are is, that's these things right here. So I was able to get those out, and those have a plastic washer on them too. Just see if I can show you. I wish I had an extra hand. Anyway, see that plastic washer coming up? Those have a washer, and then this nut. And I just got a half-inch, a very small quarter-inch drive, half-inch socket and ratchet on them, and I was able to crack these loose, and then they just came out very easily. And then I was careful, and then I pulled down on this piece. So it's hinging down here now. Okay, down at the back of the seat, so to speak. The front of the seat is now released. And there are some wires and stuff here I could take off to let it go down even more to these other motors. And I'll probably do that to allow this thing to drop down so that I can get to these two screws on the actual motor and actuator here. So that's where I'm at now. Okay. Okay guys, back at it again. I've got the new motor mounted, so I just wanted to show you what's going on here. I left the old motor hooked up as far as all the electrical pieces that have the push pins in them, the plastic push pins that retain them, and like a glorified tie strap or nylon tie. Anyway, I left them in and I mounted the other one. You can see the other motor down below. Went ahead and did that. Had a little difficulty. This is nothing more than an 1/8 inch square cable, similar to like a speedometer cable. And this is what it looks like if you take it out. Now I took it out of this old one here, not the new one, but I took it out of that one. You can see on the ends, see if I can show you. Yeah, I can't find it. Okay, right there. That's what it is. It's an 1/8 inch square. And that's what drives it. So down here, when you go to take the old one out, if you lift up on this, pull up on this, okay, up out of there, you can bend this enough to disengage it from whatever's in there. It's a female square 1/8 inch hole. I don't know if it's, I guess it's on a nut because this has a screw here. So there has to be, see if I can get a better look at that. You can see that screw is what's driving that thing. So there's got to be a nut in here that somehow is spun by that 1/8 inch. I don't know the details. I didn't tear it apart. I don't really care. And then the same way over here, you've got this little tiny short piece. It's about 2.5 inches long, and that goes in this side over here. So when I put the new one back in, I slid the short end in first. This was in the unit, and I slid it in and slid it underneath this flange here, which is a pain in the butt. You got to slide this piece underneath that. That sets on top, and then get the two screws in. And then once I did that, and I had to rotate this a little bit. If I wiggled this piece here, that rotated this, you know, enough to line up with the square. You got to get it in the, you know, rotated the right way to go in the square. Once it goes in, then you're fine. And then this one over here, I left this up out, and then I pulled this up and bent it in. I bent it in, like pulled it up here in the middle because it's flexible, and guided it down in, and then snapped this back into place. And it was lined up. So if it isn't lined up, you're going to have to wiggle and move around a little bit. And then I was able to get all the 4 screws back in. So that's what I did. And the tool I used, that's a T40, by the way. This is what I used. Just a 3/8 drive with a T40 Torx driver on it for those screws. So that's where I'm at. Now I'm getting ready to pop all these connectors off, and then I'm going to put them on here one at a time so I don't get them mixed up. I took plenty of pictures, and that's one thing I recommend everybody doing, taking plenty of pictures of different angles so that if you get to the point where you're like, oh shit, where'd that go? You'll be able to go back through your pictures and figure that out. So that's where I'm at. One other thing that before I pull all those electrical connections out, one thing that I did do, I wanted to make sure this thing worked. I had already tested it, but I put 2 jumper wires on here, about 8 inches long, and simple jumper wires like that. And I put 2 of those on, and then I just used my battery, and this is a 20 volt. It'll work. It's not going to hurt it for just a few seconds. So I went ahead and just shoved that in on the 2 outside pieces, the hot and the cold, that are marked on that lithium battery for a drill. So, and I was very careful just to do it momentarily, and it definitely works. So it ran the motor. It was actually back as far as it would go one way. So when I switched the wires, the positive and the negative, then it took off the other direction. So that's where I'm at. Okay guys, I got the new motor in completely, and I was able to get the wiring back the way it's supposed to be. This one I was able, this push pin that holds it in place, I was able to salvage that. This one here, it broke, so I used 2 tie straps in the hole, or I'm sorry, 1 tie strap in that hole. And then these down here, I was able to get them pulled off. And then this one, so you've got 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 that has to come off, and you have to get them back on. I used a screwdriver and pliers and whatever you have to do to try to gently take them out to salvage them. And if not, then you're going to have to use some pull ties to reattach those in a way. I'm going to point my headlamp up so you can see better. Reattach those in a way so that it goes back the original way that they had it, because I'm sure they put a lot of effort into making sure those wires, when this seat is moving forward and backwards and tilting and whatnot, that those wires have enough length to do so without pulling out of the motors and putting strains on things. So those are, basically strain reliefs. So I was able to do that, get it all back together. And I will say, up here, I'm going to tell you right now, shine the light in here. This particular, putting this, let me move that light. Putting this back in place, can't quite get my light here like I want to do. Let's see if I can get this. So the bolt that I took out right here on each side so that I could drop the actual framework down, that has a plastic washer in it, and you want to make sure that goes back in the middle. And this bolt has a diameter on it that actually, it's long enough that it comes through this piece of metal. If I can get my finger on it, let me change hands. It comes through this piece of metal onto the other side, and then that plastic ring drops on. And that's your bushing between these 2 pieces, because that's pivoting there all the time. And then to get that nut on, as I said, you have to bend this freaking thing back. And also this becomes like an issue. This metal tray, so you got to bend that thing down a little bit to be able to work it in. And I'm not sure if you would run the seat back and forth, whether that would give you any more clearance. I haven't give that a whole lot of thought. It may, but I was able to get mine back in without doing it. Even though when I did my little test, I ran the seat up a little bit, I was able to get it back in. This one on this side is pretty easy to get to. So, and this is I just used a 1/4 inch drive, and I think that's a 1/2 inch. Yeah, that's a 1/2 inch. I'm not sure if that's could be a metric or not, because it's a very neat fit, but it went on, so that's what I used to tighten it up. So I think I'm ready to put this back together. So all I got to do is set the seat back in, put the 4 bolts in front and back, and then put this connector on, and boom, it should work. So we're going to find out here soon. Okay guys, everything's back in. Everything's working like a champ. See the seat going back, seat going forward, seat tilting. Everything's working like it should. Took me a little while to clean up the floor. It resembled, you know, that of a stove that hasn't been moved for about 5 years. So there was a lot of French fries and, you know, chips and stuff like that down in there. Anyway, I got it all done and working great. So that's how you replace the motor for the forward and backwards on your F250 2014. Till the next video.